好，同志们，我们回到来的，我们是中国现在，China Now with Nan Su and Michael Olson. Ladies and gentlemen, I had a great opening question for this show, but wow, things are changing so fast, it kind of got spoiled. So here was my question. Which is most likely to happen? Trump invades Greenland or Xi invades Siberia? Well, that Trump pulled the rug out from underneath me because he already invaded Greenland. So that was that was the big subject for the last 2 or 3 weeks. Trump standing up and saying, "I am going to take over Greenland."
Well, that's his nego art
That
of a
was
deal, right? He started with asking something sky high, and then he will settle a lot less. And this is what I'm not sure if you watch the Fox News interview. Was Christina Ivan's show that she interviewed U.S. Foreign Relation Council counselor. His her name is Liana Fix.
ah,
And then
I
what you
did not see that.
okay, Liana Fix basically yesterday said that before Trump went to Davos, actually European countries already made an offer to him. So I think that's the minimum thing we are going to see, okay, in the deal. Now they say this is a framework, right?
Mhm.
Now, if they say this is a framework, I would say Trump will not take anything less than what they already offer, right?
Of course,
Now,
and go for more now.
yeah, yeah. So it's going to be the framework. To me, it's pretty clear. It's somewhere between European countries' offer and what Trump asked.
Well,
So
let's clarify the terms. What did the European countries offer Trump? Well, first of all, Trump stormed into Davos uh, and completely stole the show.
yeah, yeah. Basically, that's what happened, right? Scott Basin, Lutnick, Howard, and then Howard Lutnick, and then they kind of take over the whole show, right? So,
And this was a show that was put on to proclaim a new world order of open
I don't know
trade.
if you're gonna call it new world order, but I would say it's towards the direction. I say like 5 years ago, 5 years ago, I already say, the globalization it's ending. We are going towards the direction that's more and more. The world is going to become more and more polarized, and I think that's what exactly Trump project the future in Davos. It's taking over. Because
Well, and who was it? Lutnick, I think, went in there and he said, look, this new world order, this globalization has been to the detriment of the United States of America.
it's total fail,
A
right? It's a
total
total
fail.
failing.
And we're done with it. So
And
get
and
over it, people.
yeah, yeah. And what Scott Basin said, it's from 1980. Ever since 1980, United States government invested total $22 trillion more than other NATO countries invested into their national defense, and that's 2/3 of a U.S. government deficit.
There it
Think
is.
about this. You know, think about this. So you have to pay. For your own security. If we pay a lot more and we deserve a lot more, I agree with him. And then and Trump said, when he asked for Greenland, he basically said, you listen to him. He said, if you agree, you give Greenland to us. We appreciate it. We never ask anything. We make more contribution to everybody. We never ask everything. We never ask everything. And now for our own national security, we ask this place, Greenland. If you give us, we appreciate it. If you don't, we'll remember it.
So, so it was a beautiful example of the art of the deal. Now, we have a framework for an agreement, but we don't really have an agreement yet. But we
No, the
have a
agreement, I
framework.
know the framework, what that's what we want to talk about, right? Because the framework will be not less than what the offer was, right?
And the
From the
offer was
European.
what?
So the offer was when the offer was United States will not get a sovereign right. The sovereign right it stay with Denmark. But
Okay.
however, United States can use the entire Greenland for whatever the military purpose is. That's number one only. Number two, United States will have the full access to um, for the economic resources like rare earths or all the
Ah,
so all these economics. But so basically, Greenland, the European country will allow Greenland to use their natural resources. We allow Greenland to give their natural resources to the United States in return and United States provide the protection of the security of Greenland.
and Denmark,
Well, Denmark is a part of the NATO.
NATO.
We're going to
Okay.
do it anyway. So,
Yeah, good.
because it's just basically Denmark. It's
So it seems to me like Trump is getting is getting to eat his cake and have it too.
Well, I think basically that's all we need, right? That
Uh-huh.
for the cause of national security, that we already that's all Trump want. The only thing he didn't get is the sovereignty right,
So
which we will let the future the Greenland people to decide, right? Maybe one day they change their mind. They say, "Oh, we want to be Americans." Instead of Danish, or
or whatever.
we
Okay.
will vote. We'll vote, and we will. They can vote in the future, right?
Now, is this similar to the deal that England made with Cyprus, in which England gets to own its own bases, its own territory in on site on the island of Cyprus? Uh, and so those bases are English territory and on the island of Cyprus, which is owned by Cyprus. Uh, so is that the same kind of deal that struck?
I didn't know anything about the Cyprus deal, so
Okay,
I can't make that comparison.
okay.
But I think that's what the offer from European country was. Now think about Trump asked more. Trump asked the sovereignty, and then the European country gave that to Trump. So I think the framework it's somewhere in between. Or maybe Trump will just go there and say, "Hey, I agree with you. I will take the offer,"
Okay.
And also now keeping that in mind, that's permanent. When Trump get out of the negotiation room with Mark Rutte, the Secretary of NATO, there was a bunch of journalists over there asking Trump, how long is the deal? Trump is says infinite. So
Wow.
basically, United States military will have forever access to Greenland and can do whatever they want. Of course, they they have to do certain negotiation, not to disturbing the local residents. And and also United States will have the full access to the economic resources, all the mining, rare earths, all that. So basically, I think the long term wise, the local people will like it because that's a lot of jobs, a lot of tremendous amount
Sure,
of
sure.
job opportunities coming to the local people. They will be benefit from this tremendously. And the United States militaries, and they build up this Golden Dome, wherever. All these things will protect the entire Europe, and that's why Trump, during in his speech to the Davos, he said, "We're going to have an excellent deal that will not only benefit the Greenland people, but also benefit Denmark as well as the entire NATO." I think this is win-win situation
Well,
actually.
it sounds like, as I said, like Trump is getting his cake and having the ability to eat it as well. Now, um, with respect to Denmark, which maintains sovereignty, can Denmark make the same deal with China?
I don't think so. I think that part I don't know, but I don't think so because during the interview, uh, uh, Liana Fix didn't mention that part, but he only mentioned one thing. The deal is against China and Russia. So with that in mind, um, how they're going to what the that we'll know this until the detail of the deals actually uh, go to public, and we'll see it. I think the key issue here is China already have a certain amount of ownership to on one of the two rare earth mines in Greenland. So how they're going to
Oh,
get rid of that? It's a big issue. So they all say that's what Mark Rubio says. Mark Rubio said that China already, you know,
has a
purchased a
footprint. Yeah.
certain, ownership. They already invested in one of the two rare earth mines in Greenland, and they trying to invest into the second one too. And State Department got the information and stopped the deal. So basically, so after this deal framework become real, and U.S. government have these rights into Greenland, I don't know how they're going to deal with the Chinese investments in one of the two rare earth mining.
Okay. The other issue that I think this is going to put to me on the table here is what did our friends in Canada have to think about this deal with Greenland?
Well, we don't care, right? Uh, gr- uh, 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 uh,
The reason I asked Nan Su is that Canada's prime minister just went to
Beijing, right?
Beijing and made a big deal with China, giving for a quid pro quo. We'll sell you our canola, right, or our soybeans or whatever. So it seems like, uh,
China will buy the heavy, oil,
yeah,
from Canada.
from Canada.
Well, I think you're going to see through this whole process again. Go back to the point we just discussed that the entire world it's saying goodbye to the globalization and going back to a very polarized situation. And some of these leaders around the world, Canadian Prime Minister, you can also see a bunch of European country leaders like. A French president, English
Macron,
prime minister, German prime minister, they are still living in the old age. Yeah, so they are, and
which I think is what Trump's invasion of Davos was all about.
yeah, this
Wake
is
up,
all about,
people,
telling
wake
the
up.
world that globalization period it's ending. The world become more and more polarized. You have to choose sides. You can like like a Canadian prime minister as well as the South Korea president who also just went to China, signed like I don't know. They say a couple hundred deals, or maybe a few scores of deals, with Xi Jinping, and also the English Prime Minister. He's going to China pretty soon, and French President just came back from China. Germany, and they're still right now investing in China, building some of the entire world's largest chemical manufacture plants using the oil from Russia. All these things are going to end. But They are behind. They're truly behind.
So, in a way, it's a real good example of how Trump's first year in office, in his second term, uh, the first year has been such a redefining of the entire world. So, when he gave the helmsman orders for full speed ahead, boy, it's been a huge year of change. And though we're sitting here looking at all of the changes, the world's political leaders, like the leader of Canada, the leaders of Mexico, our friends in Germany, they're still living in the old world order.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you still can call them an order or whatever. It was a total failure.
Yeah, the
Right?
old
It was a
world
total
disorder.
failure, and you guess what? This whole
It
process.
was a it
Uh,
was a it was a it was an entire win for the People's Republic of China.
yeah, for the CCP, right?
Yes,
You
for it
know,
was a, it was a
in the
CCP masterstroke.
right. These, from 2001, China joined WTO to 2021. The first 20 years, China's economy grew tenfold, and we not only sending our job opportunities to China, but we literally have been sending one industry to another industry to China, and that just doesn't make sense. Um, so I think that it's very important now, since we we make this panda become a tiger.
Amen.
So it's very important now. We have to really, really important, super important, and as quick as possible to strengthen our military and make sure our the military people in service have better equipped, better trained. And now I'm not sure. We mentioned that the Heritage Foundation just had a report that Trump ordered adapted version of the report to be published. So it was just published last week. Basically said the report, it's based on um it's assessment that based on all the publicly available information, maybe from Congress, maybe from different think tank, maybe from the War Department, or maybe from media. So they make their assessment, and then the report basically say if there is a war that breaks out in the Western Pacific, then our military will uh, will approaching the breaking point very fast, a lot faster than Chinese military, and it's understandable because we are far away, thousands of
Sure.
miles from home, and it's near China's coastal line. And China's military, it's not Iran's, right? You're dealing with a big military power. We gave it to them. We helped them build it up.
We
So
gave
so
them the money to build it up.
yeah.
Well, with that, I'm going to take a quick break, but when we come back, I'm going to challenge Nan Su with the assertion that Xi Jinping's objective is not Taiwan, it's Siberia. And if such is the case, Nan Su will go after me and prove me wrong. So do stay tuned. We're going to have a little, I guess, almost a debate. So it should be a lot of fun. We will be right back. This is China Now with Nan Su and Michael Olson and you.
Treehouse dispenses not only the finest cannabis products, but information to those who want to know how to use cannabis for maximum benefit. Hello, I'm Jenna. If you would like to know how best to use cannabis, ask your friends and neighbors at Treehouse Dispensary, 3651 Soquel Drive. If you're 21 plus with a valid ID, no appointment is necessary and the information is free. Order online at ourtreehouse.io and pick up at our drive-thru. See you soon.
The IRS is knocking on the door because you owe back taxes. Don't panic. Call the tax doctor for free help getting out of IRS collections and back into the good graces of Uncle Sam. The tax doctor service is free, and all you need to do is call 800-817-2871. That's 800-817-2871. Get free help. Call 800-817-2871.
Hi, folks. Warren Knox here of Knox Roofing. I thought I'd share a few statistics with you. Do you know how long a frog can hold its breath? It averages around 4 minutes. What's the pH content of soil supposed to be? It's 6.5. When you look at a bag of fertilizer, it has 3 numbers on it. What's the first number represent? That would be nitrogen. Do you know how many nails the average roof requires? 7,000. How many gallons of water does it take to wash your clothes in a year? Around 2,000 gallons. A pound of wood has how many BTUs in it? That would be 8,600. What's the percentage of roofing companies in the United States that will be out of business after they've installed a roof? Believe it or not, it's 80%. Here at Knox Roofing, we're still going strong, exceeding 15,000 homes now. Okay, give us a call here at Knox Roofing at 461-0634. Thanks, folks.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, here is the headline in today's Epoch Times. U.S. to gain total access to Greenland without payment. Under the agreement, the United States would gain access to the Arctic island for an unlimited period of time and at no cost. Well, I guess when it comes right down to it, Nan Su, that's a pretty good demonstration of the art.
Can you read it again? I haven't actually read the article yet.
Well, this is just a headline. Under the agreement, the United States would gain access to the Arctic island for an unlimited period of time and at no cost. So, in essence, I guess it's a wonderful example of Trump's art of the deal. So he stormed into Davos saying he's going to invade Greenland and take it over. And he did without firing a shot. Amazing stuff. Now, I'd like to go back to what you had to say about Xi Jinping and being a very clever man that is evil. Well, I would like to agree with the first part of him being a very clever man, because to think about the scheming and wheeling and dealing that he must have had to do to get on top of the Chinese Communist Party, persecute 7 million people and stay there. That's a talented guy. There's just no doubt about that. So I got to thinking about Xi Jinping and Taiwan, and I got to thinking, what if that's his often repeated statement about taking over Taiwan is just a ruse, a reason to build up his military for another objective. And I have thought to myself, well, what other objective could there be? And to me, the most obvious one, the one that would do his country the most good, would be Siberia. Well, of course, Siberia is owned by his good pal, Vladimir Putin, and the Russian government. But who cares about them when there's all of that valuable natural resources, the oil, the timber, the minerals, everything China needs is right to the north of them. And by God, did not China own Siberia to start with? So I'm thinking, if I were Xi Jinping and thinking long term, when Vladimir Putin came to me and said, I'm going to invade Taiwan, if I were evil and smart like Xi Jinping, I would have said, yeah, go right ahead. We'll help you out. And we'll watch you fight yourself to death, as it were. We'll watch you deplete yourself, and we'll give you just enough to so that you can keep going until you have nothing left. Then I'll walk right into Siberia and take it over. That to me seems like a much more likely prospect than to getting into a fight over Taiwan that I can just leave sitting there and take over at my leisure. So I don't think this is just Michael Olson thinking. If I were really clever and evil, I would have funded Vladimir Putin's effort to take over the Ukraine to the extent that he would have to keep fighting on and on and on and on until he's completely depleted his military and financial resources. Then I could just walk right into Siberia and own it. Your thoughts?
Well, that may happen, and that may happen only if Americans are taking over Russia. So that's the only scenario that's going to happen if
What do you mean if America was taking over Russia?
it's totally collapsed, and
Ah,
then the Russia it's going to have election to elect a pro-U.S. government. If that actually happened, I think that's the only time that Xi Jinping is going to do it. Xi Jinping has enough trouble deal with its own economic issue domestically. He tried to take over Russia. He not only losing the ally, and he will have tremendous trouble to control it. He cannot even control the social unrest and right now it's taking place in China. So I don't think he wanted more trouble. It's better to have an ally instead of
who's
having more trouble for
you
himself.
mean
But however,
his ally Putin? Is that who you're talking about?
yeah, it's better to have an ally with Putin instead of making Putin his own enemy, right? Now,
Okay,
but however, if Putin total collapse, the Russia is collapsed, a regime is collapsing, and then it looks like that the Russian people are going to elect a government that's a pro the Western world. That situation total changed.
well, I
That
guess
that
that's
may be the time he will point his gun to the Siberia.
well, that
Uh,
was exactly my thought. And it seems to me, if you discount all of his bluster about Taiwan, that has been his most strategic move has been to support Russia to the extent that Russia keeps fighting until it just falls over and dies.
well, no, that's not the top priority, right? He doesn't want to Putin die. Think about that.
But
Even
but what if he
if think
does?
about it, if actually the Russian regime uh, collapsed, Russia is going to have a pro-Western world government. Then it's and although he may be able to take Siberian, but he's still lonely. He's still in a much worse situation than having Putin as his ally.
But
So,
if he can
but
take over Siberia, he will have all of the natural resources that today he must trade
it
for with
doesn't
other
it doesn't
countries.
matter. Say the natural resources are it's the secondary, right? Because think about that. If the entire Western world, if Russia is on the side of joining the Western world, and the communist regime will be the only enemy of the entire world, pretty much. So why he wants that? I don't think he wants that. So I think, he's much smarter than that. So that's why I think all these people, they look down Xi Jinping. Now, again, I want to say Xi Jinping is a very smart guy,
And very evil.
and it's an evil guy. That combination, smart and evil nature together, they make the CCP our number one enemy, number one threat. If they're
Well,
stupid, they're not smart. It doesn't matter. How evil they are. It wouldn't be much of a matter, right?
mhm.
So I think we.
As an ally, what does Putin bring to Russia, or Putin bring to Xi Jinping? What good is Putin to Xi Jinping?
Well, he stabilized the entire northern border of China. That's what it is. So
What
China,
if there was no northern border of China? What if Xi Jinping were to take over Siberia?
well,
There
Siberian,
would be
it's
no.
only a part of it's a very small part of a northern border. Siberia, it's a very small part of the northern border. Probably less than 20% of the northern border. See, China have its entire northern border, either bordering directly with Russia or with Mongolia.
Mongolia.
Yeah, if Mongolia and Russia joining the Western world, China have a lot more to lose than it gain from taking over Siberian. So right now, what Xi Jinping and Putin why the reason they're together because they back each other, they support each other's back. So Putin is expanding towards the west, while Xi Jinping is expanding towards the east and south. So they are they're like a back to back situation. Once Xi Jinping lost that situation, maybe he's able to take over some small part of Russia, like Siberia. But he's ending up in a much worse situation. And what does those natural resource going to do for him if he doesn't have, he's entirely um, out of the technology from the Western world? It doesn't really matter, you
I
know.
think he can always buy the technology from the Western world, as he
Well,
all.
it's behind, right? So right now we are our restrictions on technologies. It's getting, more and more restricted every day, which is the good direction, and we have been moving towards to. Uh, that's good. I think that um, I think that both Trump and actually Biden also doing a pretty good job on that part to restrict, put in more and more restrictions to prevent our technology from going to China.
Okay, let me go back to my crazy scenario. If China today or tomorrow morning were to invade Siberia and annex it, who would fight for Russia? Which other country would go to war and fight China on Russia's behalf?
No
So,
country.
so if China
But
were,
he's losing. But then Xi Jinping will losing his entire. He will lose. Why? Xi Jinping and Putin had unlimited collaboration, that kind of agreement in 2022, just like a few weeks before Russia invaded Ukraine. Now
uh-huh.
that has not changed, and well, Xi Jinping is not that stupid. He's not going to create that kind of trouble for himself. He has enough trouble in domestically already.
I don't see any trouble in China invading Siberia at all because I don't think Russia no longer has the ability to turn China back in the least bit. I think most of their military capabilities or assets have been moved to the Western Front in Ukraine. And there's not much left there to defend.
That's why
And
they're counting on China, right? They're counting on the communist China, counting on the CCP.
Okay,
Now,
okay, you said yourself, Xi Jinping is both clever and evil. So, would you rely on somebody to watch your back who's both clever and evil?
well, evil will rely on evil, right? So that's what happened. Even though they are all evil, but doesn't mean they're stupid because they are going to cut down their own airline before. Well, maybe if they take over the entire world, they will start fighting against each other. But before that happened, it's just not going to happen.
Oh, well, I'm the only one I know of that said it, so I don't know why anybody else would think about it. But again, who would come to Russia's defense if China?
Nobody,
Nobody.
nobody, but that's why they are the ally to each other. They are together facing the entire Western world. They are already in their disadvantage, and they knew that. So they're not going to hurt each other until something dramatically changes. Like what I say, the scenario I talk about, if the Russian regime is collapsing, and then Russian people, choose their future for democracy, for freedom, pro-Western world. Until that day happened, I don't think Xi Jinping will even think about invade Siberian. You know, and also he need to mobilize his society. He need to mobilize. Think about how his own people going to look at him. He built up this. He invested tremendous amount of time and resources to support Russia. Now all of a sudden he trying to invade Russia, start war against Russia. He need to mobilization of the entire society
Well,
and the military for
he
a
owns,
war.
yeah, he owns the propaganda. He could just tell them, his people of China, I know I told you I was going to invade Taiwan, and I'm gonna. So I'm just gonna set this aside right now. But to show you how clever I really am, I'm gonna take over Siberia and provide you with all of the minerals and all of the water and all of the timber and everything you need to build a great new China. And it's like Donald Trump. It's not gonna cost you anything.
It's not going to happen. Xi Jinping is not that stupid. Uh,
Or
now,
smart, or
yeah,
smart.
no, he's not. If he make that move, that means he's stupid, right? So I don't think it's just going to happen. Just forget about all this wishful thinking. I don't think all these things going to happen. We need to seriously just basically treat Russia and China together as our enemy and make a preparation and
But
fully
you know,
prepared for.
that's interesting because that was the one failure I see of Donald Trump's first year in office was that he failed to drive that wedge between Russia and China.
Well, I knew at the very beginning, right? Even before he went to White House, I already talked about it. It's just not going to happen. Now, I don't try to. I'm not going to criticize him. It's a thought. It was a try, but it's not going to happen. And from the very beginning, there's a bunch of American people that they have their wishful thinking. Thinking about some sort of. Some sort of American money and market and technology will actually, which will turn Russia around against China. That's just not going to happen.
Well,
And also to turn Xi Jinping against the Putin. That's not going to happen neither. They're not stupid. Forget about it. It's just not going to happen. We
okay.
need to prepare for the worst.
Well,
Think about.
to me, Nansu, the worst is China owning Siberia
It's
because
not. That's the
right
best scenario.
right now
No, no, no.
China
That's the best scenario. No, that's the best scenario. Because if China invaded Siberia, Xi Jinping is doing the big favor to the Western world. That's
Okay.
what I'm saying.
Okay. As I see China right now, it is very much in the same position that Japan was in the late 30s and early 40s. Japan was a very strong military country, short on natural resources. China requires a lot of natural resources from all over the world. Much of those natural resources could be stopped or blockaded simply by shooting up a few torpedoes into some oil tankers or some bulk cargo carriers, and China would be in a very deep fix. I I I see Siberia as a vast storehouse of all of those items that it needs to survive, including oil.
Well, think about this. Think same follow the same logic. Okay, so if China invade Russia, that will be no different than World War II. Before World War II, Hitler, Germany invaded Italy, or Germany having a war with Japan. They
Mhm.
need a resource they can get from somewhere else, but they don't have to point the finger to their own airline because they are facing the entire, Western world. Although we have a bunch of European leaders who are still in their own wishful thinking logic, handling their own countries, but still, the whole world, all these European leaders, at least they know that a stronger and stronger communist China is not going to be their favor. So I think that
That's we agree there. But let me ask you this: for for Putin to fail in the Ukraine, he has to have the backing of the European governments. They have to let him do it. They have to say, "Go ahead, to Putin, take Ukraine." If they put up a fight, Putin will not be able to take over the Ukraine. He doesn't have the resources to go up against all of those governments in Europe.
yeah, well, if they actually do the work to defend themselves,
Yeah,
right?
if they actually decide to stand up and take a stand for
Yeah,
themselves.
it's a funny that the Trump said that it only took 6 hours for German military to take over Denmark, you know, during the World War II.
Yeah,
How are you
exactly.
going to count on them to defend Greenland? It was just impossible.
Yeah. So, well, I think that the same, I guess I'm trying to make the same argument about Russia's ability to hold on to Siberia, which China still sees as its own territory, in spite of a treaty that was made hundreds of years ago, giving it away to Russia. China still sees that territory. Vladivostok is not Vladivostok. It belongs to China in Chinese eyes. So
Not,
China,
not. I think that's in the Americans' eyes, not in the Chinese eyes.
oh,
It's the Communist Party leader Jiang Zemin in 1999 signed the treaty with Russia and gave away all that, to recognize, the current border. So, it's not only in Xi Jinping's mind, it's from the, Jiang Zemin's mind that they already gave that away, and they knew they needed Russia as their ally. Not from the beginning of Xi Jinping's regime, but actually from Jiang Zemin's regime. That's 1999. That's more than a quarter centuries ago. So it's just
but also
not realistic.
isn't that a relatively recent realization that they need to be friends with Trofim or with Russia.
Well, the
I mean,
unlimited
they
collaboration.
were traditional enemies forever, weren't they?
They are, but see, it's a very important. In the olden times, it's a two big, you know, uh, uh, empire clashing against each other. But
Forever almost.
it's almost forever, but it doesn't matter. In today's world, what we are dealing with, it's not, a country against a country. It's a freedom against, dictatorship. It's democracy against, the communist regime. So this is the war. This is the much bigger picture of the world. If you are still thinking this is two different countries against each other, that, you know, people forgot the big picture. Uh, that's what's going on in China, and that's going on in Russia, and that's going on in Iran. Why Iranian people, rise up against their own uh, uh, power? They know Americans, are coming to destroy the regime, and why they're not stand up for Iranian regime against Americans instead of their people, Iranian people counting on Americans coming to help them to throw away the regime. It's because people want freedom and people want democracy. I think that this is what's the real game, in all of this. So I think the communist regime knew they're facing the entire Western world coming, and and the only airline they got is Putin.
But what if they just don't need Putin?
That's why I say, oh, Xi Jinping will only do that if Russia is going to have a pro democracy, pro Western world new government after the current regime collapse. So Xi Jinping may choose to do that if still at that time he still have enough economic and military power.
Okay. And we're talking about a diminishing power for the CCP. Why? Why do we think the CCP's power is diminishing as we go forward here? You said
Well, as
5 years, said 5 years.
as we going forward, there are two things happening in China. Number one, they are getting less and less reinvestment, consumer market,
Well, it's
and
picking up all
technology
kinds
from.
of new allies like Canada. It's picking up
Well, I
like
don't think
Brazil.
I don't know. Canada, their prime minister is making mistake, but I don't know they are stupid to that level. Okay, they are counting on China to certain level, but I think in their mind they know their security is still relying on the United States. Now, I don't think they're going to join the evil axis. They just want to do some business, get some money, play both by playing both sides. They're not that stupid. So I think that as the world goes more and more polarized, they're going to realize a couple years from now, maybe 6 months from now, they are making a mistake. So I think that's just how the world is going to be, become more and more polarized. And, you have the United States leading the Western world on one side, while Russia, China on another side. And I think I'm hoping, before the October of this year, we are going to see um, big changes in three countries. That's Cuba, Venezuela, which already taking place,
And
and
Iran.
in Iran. So I think that's the major things that's going to happen in the world this year. If that three countries changes, we are one big step forward against this evil axis.
which would be really good on all accounts. And still, nonetheless, I think Xi Jinping, being very, very clever and very evil, has his eyes on Siberia because it has everything he needs that would make China almost totally self-sufficient in most everything. And he could get it like Trump got it for no money, and he could control it completely. So
I don't
that's
think
just
he's even a threat anymore if he lost Russia as ally.
say that one more time. We had a little internet connection failed
So
there.
I don't think China is going to be a real threat anymore if they lost Russia as their ally.
Ah,
It's a much lower level of threat to the Western world because he will be alone. He will be alone. He will be only country facing the entire world. I mean, think about that. In the UN, the Security Council, if Russia changed to become a pro-Western world, who will be with China? Nobody.
Canada,
Nobody.
Canada, Canada would be, and Brazil,
No, Canada,
and
they
the
will be
rest of the
smart.
BRICS
I don't
countries.
think they will be that stupid. And if that happens, Canada will be on our side. Yeah, because that's just that's
Well, this has been a very interesting argument. And like I said, it's just something I dreamed up, just thinking about Xi Jinping. Could he possibly have his eyes on Siberia? If I were him and evil as him, I would. I would look to Siberia and what it would take me to own it. Just like Trump looked at Greenland and thought, I should own that. The United States should own Greenland. And somehow Trump waltzed into Davos and stared the New World Order in the eye and said, I own Greenland. The United States owns Greenland. We deserve it. We paid for it. Give it to us. And the world conceded. Okay, okay, you can have it.
it
Now,
could.
can
We have
can
a
Xi
lot of
Jinping
we
give
have
us?
a we have an entire we have an entire NATO. We still
Yeah,
as our best friend. Remember that Mark Rutte, when he was sitting there with Trump, taking questions from the journalist, he said if United States it's invaded or threatened by any other country, the European countries will be here fight with Americans.
we'll love to
That's
see that. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that has been the 760 or 271st edition of China Now. We thank you all for tuning in and thank you for joining us today. It's a very interesting world we live in. And Donald Trump's first year has been very interesting too. See you next week, same time, same place, for more China Now.